Knowledge, my friends, is power, and in today's video we're going to talk about that. But before, we're going to start with a quick review of what we've done in the last episode. We built this miniature ride in the backside of our main street. This is a miniature little village reflecting the Black Forest area in a mini variant. I'm very happy with how that turned out, but obviously, as I said last episode, this was just a little bit of a placeholder before we go into what is going to be our big Darkride below the main centerpiece of our park. And with that, welcome to the basement and welcome to today's episode of Fall Lake Forest. I hope you guys are ready. I hope you guys are in for a great episode, and I hope you guys are ready for a second one following very soon, because I needed to separate that into two different episodes for a lot of reasons. The biggest one being that I already spent way too many hours on this build, let alone. I also have listened to your feedback, so we will have a bit of new music in today's video because it's going to be a bit of a long one. So I hope you guys have something to drink, maybe a snack or two, and you can make yourself comfy while watching today's video. We are going to talk a lot about the knowledge and reading and books, and why I think it has a certain magic on its own, and why this is going to be the theme of this dark ride. For those of you who don't know, and maybe you just tuned into today's video because you love dark rides, you may love our park over here, because this one is going to be a high budget, very classic theme park, and I thought, why not then have a very high budget dark ride in here? It's gonna be something different. I try to step away as far as possible from the magic that the sorcery pack is offering us, and I am trying to do something different with it. However, there is a certain, let's say, guidance to these type of dark rides I wanted to follow to make it somewhat fit in the theme, fit in the DLC theme, and also make myself use the stuff we have the best way possible. Anyways, the whole ride is going to be located, as you've seen in the very first shot today, is going to be located below our main centerpiece, the university building. If you haven't seen the episode where we built this, make sure to watch it. It's been the second episode of our park, basically, where I'm building the main centerpiece. It's heavily inspired by an old hospital, a Jewish hospital in Germany that was also, let's say, abused for certain things. But there was a brief moment where I thought I want to go into this direction, but then I thought I'm absolutely not going to do this, because that is anywhere near Peggy whatever for my channel and would work. But nevertheless, having the story of the building there is a high chance that there are some secrets hidden in a building like that. However, to make it a bit more family friendly and likely to a theme that I really enjoy, the main idea is that we are following a university students cult, and the students cult is all in for some forbidden knowledge, which the forbidden knowledge is kind of the similarity to what the building actually, like in the real world, would be. I mean, that would be the closest we can get without going too much into detail. But forbidden knowledge in times of, political instability is always kind of the key to change, to rebellion, to whatever, but there is a lot in it. Being a student is already kind of rebellion in itself, because at least I felt this way. I can only report from my own experience, but I can only say that having had the chance and the fortune and being in a position that I was able to do studies and, go for a master's degree even in one of the bestest universities in the world. For those of you who do want to know, I did study my master's in the University of Berlin and St. Gallen. Especially St. Gallen is known to be one of the best in the world when it comes to, the stuff I did in terms of, business and digital leadership and stuff like that. But being like a young gun in a way, and being in these kind of universities, having the chance to have professors that have kind of done crazy stuff. One of our professors, she was behind PayPal and Uber, like not behind, but she was basically a referent giving them advice to how to make the business plan and so on. And I remember when we had courses with her, I remember that we had one idea we developed over the whole time of my master's studies. We developed one idea, and me and my group, we were like, yeah, it's bulletproof, That's the best idea ever. We're going to all be billionaires, which we are not, by the way. But like we thought, and then she came in, had a look at the concept, and like, 5 minutes in, she was pointing out 6 flaws, as if we've not even worked on this thing. That was hilarious. But like, being in a position like that gives you the incredible idea of what knowledge can cause and what kind of power knowledge is. So this is a very close, like a topic that is super close to my heart, because knowledge also comes with truth in a way. And we are living in a time where truth, unfortunately, is not equaling knowledge in a way anymore. And opinions, way more often than not, become facts. Or actually, to be honest, they don't become facts. They are seen as facts. They still are not facts. Despite some people may believe it, it's not the way it is, okay? Facts remain facts, no matter if someone has a different opinion. If you say that water does boil at a certain heat degree, that is going to be the same case, no matter if your opinion is the same or not. And I kind of have an issue with where we are going in our society right now. But I don't want to delve too much into that kind of negativity. I want to go into the positive of it, you know. Having the chance to gain knowledge feels like magic, and that is what I want to transport in this ride. Having like a little bit of a cold over here who found out the access to a hidden like library of knowledge is something I wanted to do. And you know, it's a very common theme. It's to be honest, it's not super original, I get that, but for me personally, framing that not only to gain certain access to cults or magic, it's more about gaining knowledge. Is like, it's kind of the same, is it? But the framing is a bit of a different here. So my framing is the sheer access to certain forbidden knowledge is the idea of it. And I mean, getting into that is like you live your life in that university and you follow the rules kind of in a way. But at some point, as I said, being young, being in there is rebellion within itself. You will at some point try to find certain things that no one else has found before, knowing how unrealistic that may be. But exactly this drive is what makes us humans a species that developed so crazily fast, you know? There is a intrinsic drive that we want to gain new knowledge that no one else has gained before. And honestly, in the future, this is becoming more and more of our currency. And so I'm very, very much into this type of idea. And so this is my big idea behind this, you know, gaining knowledge beyond a certain degree that was intended by the university. So yeah, I'm fairly happy. By the way, this main room over here for the station, this is part of the second episode. This is just some cleanup work. I just wanted to test if it's working or not. But this is a perfect segue to a little bit of a sponsorship of the day. As always, you know, Instant Gaming is the sponsor of the channel, and I am still very happy to have them as a sponsor of the channel. There will be a little bit of a more personal note on that on the end of the episode. But as always, you can get great customer support, you can get DLCs, pre-releases and stuff, and also make sure to check out for Jurassic Gold Evolution 3. It's going to be on here soon, but also the Sorcery Pack is with a great discount, and the upcoming City Skylines 2 DLC, in case you haven't seen that one, will be here so soon too. So make sure to go to the link in the description, make sure to get yourself notified whenever something's there, or get a game you want that you find over there. The Cult Begins over here is the name of the chapter. And as I've already created a bit of the segue into this segment, I want to go a bit more into the knowledge idea. So what even is forbidden knowledge? And I find this a very interesting question. Some would react, including me, very fast in a way that you say, yeah, well, obviously it's knowledge about secret weapons, or it's knowledge about, I don't know, a deep state, let's say. That's maybe the common stuff that is happening right now. And I do hope that my video is not getting demonetized by that right now. It's just whatever. But I think it is defined by where you are living. Right, you know, if you're somewhere in the Middle East, some knowledge about women rights would potentially be already forbidden knowledge, which you'd look at right now as a Central European. Well, technically today, let's see how it is in a couple of years, but you would be very confused, you know. So forbidden knowledge is a very personal thing. It's a very individual thing. The same goes, you know. Certain families have rules, and if in a family there is, let's say, a rule of never never going to study or whatever. You know, it's kind of a bit of a personal knowledge again, in a way, if you will. My mom used to be a bit against me and my brother going to university, which is a bit of a hilarious thing. She's a self-made woman, and I'm super proud of what she does. You know, she's handled everything herself, and she's like very much into everything. She's been the one bringing us into computers and stuff. So without my mom, I wouldn't be sitting here doing that kind of stuff. She was actually creating computers because before I was even thinking about it, she was like building these kind of things, fiddling around in BIOS before I even knew what BIOS was. So there's a lot of things she did, and but then she still was like, yeah, you don't need university. I didn't need it myself, so you don't need it. By now, she obviously kind of changed her mind about that. But at the beginning, that was really like, I felt like doing something illegal going to university. And frankly, I exactly did this. I went to my dad and was like, hey, I want to go to university, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was old enough to do it myself, but didn't need the confirmation of my parents. But like, I did it secretly. I was like telling them, you know what, I'm going to go to university and I'm going to pay for this myself, because they didn't want to do this anyway. So I was doing that, and just without, I didn't need to have their consensus, you know. And this already is kind of the cult behind this, you know. Gaining knowledge is something super individual, and don't let anyone tell you you need certain, I mean, okay, let's put it, it's a bit of a dangerous area here, okay? So I was still very gifted. I was able to work myself on a, you know, other job to gain the money for it. But I know that people from other areas in the world, they still can't do this, and they don't have the money for that. But, you know, we are living in a time where access to knowledge in many areas of the world is given, and it's an individual thing. You decide whether you want to gain knowledge or not, in the most cases, okay? I do know that there are certain limitations, but for a lot of people, the main barrier is yourself, okay? Gaining knowledge is something individual, and you need no one else to tell you to gain certain things. And so this is something I want to tell with this entrance. I want to make it really all in this kind of cult direction, but the real message is you can gain knowledge wherever you want, whenever you want, and it's your own superpower you're gaining, okay? So again, I want to just quickly touch upon that, not too much, because we are getting into some really cool builds here. You can see I'm doing this kind of pentagram. I don't know why I struggled so much with it. I wanted to do it a bit of a odd one intentionally. Like, you know, the idea is that they haven't been too good at it already. They needed to still find more knowledge. But still, I wanted to do a real one first and then go into a bit of a broken one. And I just wasn't able to get a real one. I even took like a one with all the degrees and angles, and now as we can go to 1 degree angle snap, I thought it should be working easily, but for some odd reasons it didn't work. It made me went crazy anyways. But for what it goes around the knowledge, see, the point for me personally is what kind of knowledge for me was super enlightening is the driving an EV now. See, 5 years ago, maybe it's already, no, it's actually 4.5 years. It's like how old my daughter is. She's 4.5. So it's 4.5 years ago that the car of my wife broke down. So we had only one car left, and that sounds a bit like first world problems, I know, but our car, like my car, is very old. It does consume a lot of fuel, and it also isn't big enough for a kid, or already now 2 kids, so there's no way to fit them all in. So we needed like a bigger car. And then we were obviously starting to look at the secondary market, and I was starting to do my research, and I went into, okay, what kind of cars are available? What about EVs then all of a sudden popped up, you know? And 4.5 years ago, I was still on the early side. It's definitely not earliest. You know, there have been people for 10 years. I have a huge respect for these people. But I went in there and was like, okay, I'm going to do my research now. And I did. I did do a lot of research. I read into a lot of articles. I read into the state of battery technology. I went into the expectations of batteries and so on. And then we come into the magic of knowledge. And I'm super happy. This is a perfect transition right now while you see myself building my bestest platform creation so far. We'll get to that in a minute, but let me finish that story about the EV. So I was reading into that, and all of a sudden I gained a lot of trust in that technology. And so we were going for a test drive, and eventually we bought the car. And now 4.5 years in, I can tell you there is absolutely no freaking reason to not buy an EV. this point in time. There's maybe one little reason. If you are someone working on a daily basis, very far away from at home, and you need to go, like, let's say 800 kilometers a day, 400 for each. But even still then, there are enough cars that do easily 400 kilometers on one charge, and then you can charge wherever your destination is and go back on another charge in the day. So the only thing is if you really need to travel long, or if you have like a horse or something like that that you need to pull. Yes, there are cars, but they're super expensive. Anyways, what I wanted to say is that I gained the knowledge, and I read into that, and I learned about what the technology really is, what's the downside of it, because obviously EVs also have a huge downside. The production cost and environmental issues we have while the production of batteries is kind of intense. However, you always need to compare that to the status quo, which is the internal combustion engine cars, which you always have to think about. They are 80 years perfected. You know, these are at the very end of their life stages, not only when it comes to, you know, nowadays the transition to electric drive, but also when it comes to the increase in performance or efficiency. Yes, there are still increases in efficiency, but the steps are so small, and they will never even come remotely close to what an EV can do. And yes, we could now go into all the kind of, you know, energy return of energy investment, blah blah, and it doesn't matter. When you do your research and you read into that, there's only one solution. At the end of the day, you will only find one solution, and that is one baseline. EVs are better. They are not great for the environment, but they're much better. They're much better than internal combustion engine cars. And if you just don't want to look at this from a perspective of environmental impact, you can only look at it at the personal impact. Hey, not having a stinky car and being able to charge at home, always have my car ready to go at hand, never needing to worry about going to a freaking fuel station. And honestly, that annoyed me so often. I can't tell you how often I need to go in the mornings. I was so annoyed to go there. But anyways, that is so good. And also that kind of quiet car. If you got kids, oh my god, that is also a treat. Even though some kids may like the kind of vibrations of an engine, but also this kind of quiet car is it's just a treat. Despite the fact, with kids, the car's never quiet, but that's nothing to do with the car itself. So that's a different topic. Anyways, that was a little bit of the ideas where I was super happy to gain a lot of knowledge rather recently. And I didn't know before. And, you know, to make that whole kind of story round, for me personally, that was a very hard way to convince me, because I grew up with a certain Michael Schumacher, okay? I grew up with the GOAT of F1. And yeah, you Lewis fans, you have to be strong here, okay? I still call Michael Schumacher the GOAT because he just did something in a time where he was really pioneering certain things. Okay, sorry, I'm drifting away here. Now, this was really a time I enjoyed, and I'm absolutely a petrol head when it comes to that. But I needed to accept that there is change happening, and being educated as a change manager in a way, I have to be open to that, so that helps. But still, there's still a fascination of very loud, stinky cars for me. There's no way I would go with an EV to a racetrack quite yet, despite the fact they're phenomenal at that. You know, I did do a test drive on the Ioniq 5N. Holy moly, that is some sort of power you have there. Insane. So yeah, that was the knowledge I gained. Maybe not through that book over here, but that book is definitely worth talking about. So this is a floaty little book where like some feathers, you know, kind of old feathers where you would kind of ride with. And obviously they are a symbol again to gain knowledge and to secure knowledge as well. That is something also that for me kind of always refers to knowledge. And it's a bit of a pity I put these three kind of withered, sorceries in here with the hooded sorcerers. You know, there is a kind of a nice idle animation that I was using at the end of the day that works quite okay. It's a bit of a pity that they are not, there is no version without having a wand. It makes sense for us how this kind of thing should work, but I would have loved to just have these kind of cult persons talking to each other. Whatever, that's just the way it is. And last but not least, we did something that a lot of people were commenting already when I mentioned this the first time. We are doing some bookshelves over here, and I was a bit surprised to how hard it was to find the right pieces to make a really good book for also making the size of the book quite nice. Yet again, I have to talk about what Geekism said in his last video. Yes, there is still an issue with the sizes in Planet Coaster 2, just in the Planet games, but we do have scaling in the game, and frankly, I would have wished the scaling was even more powerful. There are a couple of pieces, most of them I'm going to use over here, that you can scale down to 5%, which is exactly what you need, but even this kind of sign that looks like a book, when you scale that down, is really not small enough. This kind of, editable text does go small enough in a way, just ever so small. I wished it was going even smaller, but it just works out. And you can see I was testing like a lot of pieces, and this time I decided to leave it in. Last episode when I was doing, or actually a couple episodes ago when I was doing the vintage helmet for our bike ride, I did not leave in searching for all the pieces, but this time I thought, let's leave it in for a second just to talk about that, because oh my god, that is so annoying finding all these small pieces. Is there anywhere a list out there in the wild that people have actually already noted down the bestest small pieces? I could see this totally happening in Bro Nation, by the way, but if anyone has access to a list of the best small pieces, please let me know. That would be great knowledge. Speaking of the, kind of knowledge again, the theme of knowledge. But yeah, I found a couple of nice pieces here to achieve that nevertheless. I did 2 versions for the moment. One is a fully covered one, and by fully covered I mean that the inner bit looking like the pages is fully surrounded, but there will be a second version, both of which I have made as a blueprint. I will also upload this to the workshop if I don't forget about this, so you have it at hand soon, including the bookshelf, which I think is a good idea. But yeah, you can see I'm just going to do 2 versions, which is just to save some pieces, because when you look at this in a bookshelf, you just look at this from above, as you can see over here, and you would only need to have that upper bit filled in, because everything else you wouldn't see anyway, so why waste all these pieces, right? So that is definitely something I was super happy with how that turned out. But this bookshelf is just a placeholder for the moment. I mean, it's not a placeholder, it's gonna look a little bit like that, but we will have variants of it. We will have variants of the structure and the order of the books itself, and there will be something happening with those things. But oh my god, I'm so happy. I'm so happy with how that all turned out. I'm already a little bit ahead. When I was recording this video, I already did some more for the next episode, but I needed to just somewhere make a little break to fit stuff in the next episode, which I don't want to spoil quite now. But it has to do something with books and has to do something with knowledge again. So yeah, that's going to be fun, and I can't wait to show you. It's a lot. It's a lot, but it's great. Hopefully, and if you guys have watched till this point in time and you're not subbed, why haven't you yet? If I may ask you for a favor, please do hit the subscribe button there. That's the safest thing to tell the algorithm you like the stuff. That's it. But we are about to go into the real-time part, which is a bit of a longer one today. I already recorded that before recording the voiceover. Sometimes that's helpful to know what's coming next, but you'll find out yourself now. I'm going to hand you over in the capable hands or hooves of the real-time Rudi, as we call him, and I'll see you, well, as always, after, the cut. Alright, after a couple of attempts, I have found the correct save file to not spoil too much of the next episode. But this is the current state for today's episode of our ride. Now, you can see I have already prepared a couple of things. I don't even know if I leave this in the footage or not. So this entire area will obviously change. You can see already a little hint of how this is going to look. Not exactly though, but it is already like a little hint. And yeah, this is the ride. You can enter it in here. The staircase will obviously look rather different once it's done, but this is basically where you start your journey. You're just gonna, oh my god, that was so bright. Just gonna start here with a little flashlight so we can see that. So there's this little hallway which is gonna receive a bit of a change immediately. Oh, I forgot to turn off the platform. Okay, whatever. I think this is something I have not seen yet because I changed a couple of things in here anyways. But yeah, so this is obviously an area which will already give you a bit of an idea to, play certain things. I have a certain idea for this room in the back here. So there are a couple of things that will be very nice as a bit of a beginning. And then this is the idea where you go into the university, actually. This was meant to be, but we are not doing this. We are basically going into somewhere else, and this is going to be the entering of the forbidden area. It's a bit of a, with the Omnimover, it's as I said already in the time lapse, you need to think a little bit in a different way, because you can't really play the way with doors, because you know the little ride thingies, they're like the cabins, or kind of, how do you call these things? They are so close to each other that there's like virtually no chance to basically make a door opening in between them. I mean, you could with the super fast way, but that would be rather insane, to be honest. But yeah, so you need to play this a little bit differently, and this is what we are doing over here. You go down, and then you'll notice that this is a forbidden area to go into. We will have a little hints here and there. You're gonna make your way down here. This area is going to be part of the storytelling, which is going to be very interesting to say. This area is going to be very fun. I'm still playing around with the platform tricks to do something. It's actually very hard, to be honest. It's going to be very fun. The last little thing you've seen, our little bookshelf. Again, this is just a copy-pasty for the moment. That is just more like a proof of concept, I will say. But it's going to look rather different in the next episode. There is something I have done which I gotta say I'm super proud of. It's been a lot of trickery in there to get it right. This is why I needed to make it into 2 separate episodes. It just takes so long to figure out certain things. I mean, my respect for Taggy was already immense, but it grew even so much more now trying to figure out certain things myself. And by the way, I can turn off the light here for a second. Also, let me pause the game. I'll add that in a second again, but just to be able to show you a bit better. So this is actually relatively close to the books over here, and there's a reason for that. We'll get to this in the next episode. But yeah, I mean, this is virtually one of the most fun things I've done, and to play around with all the triggers. But again, so much time that goes into figuring out how to do these movements. And not only that, once you've done that, you're like, okay, but where I'm going to hide the gear now? And this most likely destroyed a couple of my ideas, to be honest. Hiding the gears is something I was trying to do quite often and never really succeeded, but I have an idea now to do certain things, and you know, I'm frankly very happy that it worked out now, but I don't want to spoil this too much. It's gonna be, you have to watch the next episode. This is gonna be the most intentional plug over here to bring you guys to the next episode. It's gonna be so good. Moving over here, as I said already in the time lapse, this is the idea. I mean, I hated that they do have the kind of wands over here. I would have wished to have people talking to each other without wands, but you know, the only chance I had is to build my own kind of figures or characters, which I haven't. Maybe I get someone else to do that, but I can do this with the art shapes. But again, it's so time consuming. It's a topic I would love to talk about even more when it comes to how much time you put into certain things. Like, if it was only about me and not having to worry about anything YouTube related, I think I would just build one ride in the entirety of Planet Coaster 2, because I'm so obsessed with certain details. But due to the fact how you do YouTube, sometimes, also we can enable the play again, sometimes it just kind of, yeah, you have to decide whether it's worth it or not. And, you know, you do only see that for a couple of seconds, and there's only that first idea to make them very briefly visible in here, so you can see them already talking behind that glass, and then you move around, and the story continues, and then you get into that kind of cult area over here, going around while they're talking. You see these kind of structures, I would call them, pentagrams, just popping out of the wall with different kind of animations. I kind of merged together some of the circular, but also these kind of new rotational ones, and obviously popping in and out. I would have wished to make this a little bit slower, but then you would have to wait way too long for make them visible. Maybe it's still too quick, to be honest, but I'll see what I can do about that. Now to my favorite part, and this is going to show you the kind of quality of effects I was going to go for. You can see here these two feathers playing certain things. I wanted to kind of change that right one as well to make it rotate in a bit of a different rotation, but I forgot to do so. I should definitely do this for next. I think I did also, but at the moment they're actually behaving way too similar. They used to look way more different. I'm a bit confused to why that changed. Sometimes it's also about like the different effects, but then you've got the book floating, you've got all these kind of signs in here, you've got that little jar with the fireflies giving you that little idea. I'm still not 100% happy with the effect. It's on default right now, but I think I want to go for the very slow loop. I think that one is definitely the better one for me. Like the default has that kind of wiggle in the middle, which I'm not super happy with. And again, I'm also kind of, you know, we could also just try for a second. We have to first of all get this one into deactivated, and then let's just move them in. Let's go into this building, and I should be able, by clicking this one, we have got the moving platform rotational, half oscillate, slow reverse. We could actually go to the half oscillate slow adjust. I think that should do this. Quarter, actually, what does the quarter do? How does that, does this look? I mean, then they, because I think I changed this, but for some odd reasons it didn't keep it. So let's have a look. Okay, so that does have a different movement, so I can actually go in, pause the game, and just double clicky on it, and then we have that one. We can just ever so slightly move it forward. It's like a bit of a trickery, because when you move that during the overall animation, it sometimes just kind of messes up the overall thing. We can just speed up the game to see if that works. Let's have a look. Are they moving different enough now? Yes, they do. Okay, so now we can actually just put that one to loop again, and then everything is affected in on its own. So yeah, I learned a lot from Taggy to structure and organize my things in a better way now, so I can finally do some more intricate animations. And I mean, just look at that, right? Isn't that looking fantastic? I am so freaking happy with this. This is absolutely the showpiece for today. I'm not entirely sure if I will actually beat this. I think I will, but some of the other things I did, they are already pretty fancy, to be honest. But yeah, so you see that we do have this ride then climbing up over here. This is going to be all very, very like dense and tight, but intentionally again, because we are leaving the forbidden area. You can see we are leaving this through an open portrait, which I'm kind of trying to do. Like, I would have loved to do that. I have an idea how to do it. Let's put it that way. I have an idea how to do this better than this. You'll see about that. There is like a very nice idea I have. I think it just works out, but yeah, we'll have to see about this. Anyways, we're just going to make this work, and then we make our way up back into the station, where I do have an idea what we do with this part over here, but it's already cleaned up a little bit, and we do have to put something in here. But we'll have like a little viewing area here, which is going to be connected to the pathway. So to make that one closed as well, I do a bit more about the nature here from the outside, but most of it has already been fixed. So you can see there's like a little planter I needed to put in. You can see this whole terrain has been raised a little bit to fit everything in, but nothing that looks actually weird or out of place. So I'm very happy with how the overall thing just looks. I mean, it's very much, the island is still small enough to kind of have the surprise that such a big ride is hidden below in there. So if you go all the way down here, you know, it's kind of crazy to think about that this is hidden in here completely. So that is very cool indeed. You also have like this back area, which is going to receive a bit of a glow up in the next episode. Yeah, again, you can hopefully tell from this episode that I'm fairly happy with what I've done so far. It was way longer, you know. I've got a week or two. Actually, I've got 2 weeks off, and I was planning to, you know, to do a lot more in one episode. But to be honest, it just took so long. I worked a full day, over 8.5 hours on this over here, and yet this was not enough, and even more so. I think, you know, fully more than 10 hours went into just doing this, and I'm only talking about the stuff I recorded. I'm not talking about all the time it took to clean up all the area beforehand and making sure everything sits where it should sit. Yeah, there's a lot I want to talk about soon. Also, there's a couple of things I did already over here, just cleaning up a couple of things. It just takes so much time. But you guys had some very great ideas in the last episode, specifically about the monastery for over here, which we're going to do. There's going to be sitting something on top here. I had some very nice ideas of you guys, turning certain things into other structures and buildings, which I'm very happy with. But yeah, all right. While we are ending today's episode, also, I think what we can do, it just doesn't matter too much right now, but let's just have a little ride while I do the outro. Again, it doesn't really matter too much, but I just want to see how that works. So why is it not working? Hold on. Why is it not? The ride is untested. Yeah, just go to test then. There you go. Is that too quick? I don't know even. Anyways, while we're doing a little ride on this fantastic dark ride, which is going to be pretty dark because I've not really done too much. Do full rotation here. That is interesting. Need to fix that one. But yeah, this will also receive some more light over here to make it look good. But maybe the full rotation has to be fixed in order to, you know, get into the dark mood. Oh god, it looks so good. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode so far. I certainly did enjoy building this so much you cannot even imagine. It is so absolutely gorgeous to look at, and I just love what the game is capable of doing at this point. Can I also put on the torchlight for a second? Yeah, no, if there's something I can ask you guys to do, and this is also, let's speed up while we are in a just better position. I would love to just, you know, talk to you a little bit about the support you can give on the channel. Like lately, I've talked about this quite often, but see, the thing is, also, why is the game not responding anymore? No. End of day. You're kidding me, right? This is the issue. All right. Oh my god. Okay, we haven't missed too much. That was like, why? I was shocked that it was freezing. No, but you know, I've talked about that lately enough. But you guys would do me a great favor if you guys would do yourself a great favor. We had, like always, the little instant gaming, you know, advertisement block in the video. But I want to do this like on a more personal note right now. Instant gaming, I've been partnering with them for a long time already, but recently, and I do get this because a lot of people, you know, struggle to get stuff and so on. Recently, it's been a struggle to really get people to grab some games, just like being frankly honest with you guys. So by buying stuff via my link, you do support me directly to fulfill a certain goal of sales. That is all what you need to do. And the thing is, you get a game for lesser than you would get anywhere else. So obviously do always a comparison. Sometimes you could get it somewhere else cheaper. You know, I'm not saying that, but it is the way it is. But yeah, if you do that, you help me out directly by giving this to my sales account, and there's like a tiny fee of the games you purchase, but it's not really worth mentioning. I think over all these years, like 3 years now, I think the total of fee I got is somewhat about 300 euros or so over these 3 years. So it's not really worth it. It's more about the overall contract that is important to me. So if you guys buy a game via my link, you help me directly because the game the system can track it, and it also counts for if you get any money, kind of PlayStation money or whatever, for Game Passes or whatnot. It all counts, so please do me a favor. If you do something like that, if you need something, please think of me and use the linky down below. Thank you so much. That was a bit of a personal note and not really potentially advertisement, just like for me to keep the service alive for you. It's very important to me. So hopefully that is something, and the explanation helps you while you can look at this gorgeous floating book over here. God, it turned out so good. I need to fix the cover though. It just bleeds through a little bit. I don't like that. Yeah, anyways, guys, I really hope you enjoy the content. There is so much more coming in the next coming days. Peel your eyes on the channel also for the Jurassic World Evolution 3 releases and stuff. There's a lot coming. I can already tell you that there is a lot of great stuff coming in the next days and weeks. And you guys will be pleased with that. And also, there is a brand new Planet Zoo series starting tomorrow. So make sure to check the channel. It's going to be starting tomorrow. It's going to be great. I sound like a certain orange head, but it's going to be very great. It's very, very nice. And it is going to step in the frankly very big shoes of Venlo Zoo. But it's going to be fun because it's so different. It's amazingly different from everything else I've done so far. So yeah, make sure to check out the channel, and thank you so much for your ongoing support as always. And if you haven't subbed yet, what have you been doing? This, you know, over 50% still watching these videos regularly have not subbed. Why are you doing this? There's like that little button. You just need to click it. I can even do that with my camel hooves, okay? So, thank you so much. We enter the station. That should be it. Have a nice day. No more plugs from my side. I hope you guys are here with the next episode. It's going to be great. Thank you so much, and bye.